continuing perspective and adding that 3D effect, adding tree and shrubbery to add an extra layer of vision depth and perspective in your paintings. That's what we're going to be covering right now. And if you want to learn more about creating for contentment, how you can grow in your creativity and learn to paint beautiful oil paintings just like this, be sure and hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you know when we go live or post a new video, so you can improve on creating for contentment and increase your health and happiness. What we're going to do today is we're going to put in this tree section, and then we'll add a little bit of shadowing to add the final finish to this painting. And we'll start right off. First off, we're going to add in the branches. And to do that, I'm not sure somewhere, there it is. We're going to use a filbert brush. This particular filbert, I believe, is 4, yes. And you'll notice the difference between the filbert and the flat, and I've talked about this before in the brushes video that you can check out right up here, is the filberts are rounded and the flat, although the same length of bristle, this is flat and the filberts are rounded so that you can, and they add a different touch. And there's nothing wrong with using either one. You use the one that's most comfortable for you. For me, I'm going to be using the filbert. Now I've mixed up some kind of a gray, green, gray-brown type color that I'm going to put the branches in. Now we're not worried about how much these branches stand out or how accurate they are, because we're not looking to add fine detail and everything. We just want to add some structure that peeks through when we put the leaves and stuff on the foreground, on the branches. We're going to bring that branch in right in here. And we're just going to give it enough structure and everything so that you get the idea that there's branches behind. So we're not going to be doing the fancy take it out to the ends and finish it and stuff like that, like it was a dead branch or anything. This is just a branch of a tree that's coming in from our foreground, that maybe the tree is actually sitting right in here. So it would be more, if we were looking at it, the tree would be sitting out here by us instead of actually being out in the picture of what we're seeing with our eye. And the trick to doing this and putting that in is to be able to see in your eye where that tree would be in perspective to your image. And you just kind of let the, whatever little bumps or strays or whatever you happen to think on your painting, just kind of let it dictate where you put the next branch. Because like I said, it's just showing through. It's just going to be peeking through just a little bit to kind of give an idea that there's something back there. And there may not be much show of it at all, but the parts that do peek through, that way people will know that it's there, and it'll add that extra layer in there. Let's see, I'm going to take one off like this. And then bring another one up this way. And yours don't, if you decided you want to follow along on this painting, put them wherever you want. You don't have to do exactly the way I did it. Just whatever's comfortable with what you're doing. And now we're going to add a little bit of granularity to it. Clean this one up just a hair, just enough. Not worried about super clean because we're going to come back to this brush eventually. But I just want to knock some of the extra paint off of it so that it doesn't dry in the brush. Take that out. Wash it off a little bit. And if you forgot, I have a video that shows about cleaning brushes, and we're planning on another one to expand on the care and storage of your brushes. Okay, that one's good enough for now. Now we're going to go in. Now I want those flat brush with the square corners because now I want the flat brush with the square corners because if you'll recall, we talked about where I left the lines when I was doing earlier portions of this painting, and I want those lines to show up this time too. So we're going to get a little bit of the paint on, and we're just going to kind of come in and just add just some hint of color. So the amount on my brush even is very slight. So it's more of a dry brushing effect. And you just little flicks. Doesn't have to be anything spectacular. In fact, I didn't even mix up much of this color because I wasn't sure how much I would use. So as you see, it kind of adds a little bit of a dimension to the tree branch. Gives it a little bit of a bark effect and kind of provides a little bit of shape at the same time. I'm just using the corner of the brush and just flicking the color in. Need a tiny bit of thinner on my brush so it picks up a little bit more better. Because I don't want to mix more, but I want to use some more of that color just to kind of finish up in here. I'm going to get a tiny dab of white, add to it, not much. A couple more highlights in here. And that should do it. And there we have the highlights on that branch. Clean that brush up a little bit. And then we can recover our paint thinner so it doesn't knock us over with the smell, building up too much. All right, cover that. Bear with me a little bit. I'm going to mix up some greens here. I forgot to do that in advance. And in future videos, we'll add a palette camera so you can see what I'm doing over here on the palette. But in the meantime, you just have to kind of take my word for what I'm doing. What I'm doing is I'm mixing some of that Prussian blue and some of the yellow to get a dark green. I'm adding just a little bit of burnt umber to get this first layer of dark green that I want. And I'm going to conserve paint. I'm going to take that paint off of the mixing knife, put it right on the brush I'm going to use. And we're going to come right in here. We're going to pick up a little bit of that. Remember I talked about putting it just right on this end right here when we did this part in here. And we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to come in here, only this time we're going to do a little more clustered over what we have in here. And we're just putting in a kind of a dark background right now of what we want. I'm just putting in just some leaves to kind of allude to the fact that there'll be some little branches holding stuff and everything out here. So we're kind of just bring it up like these little twigs were just sneaking out to the top. Just like you had little twigs all over the place here. Like I said, we just want the branches peeking through in places. We're just kind of, because we got a lot of this, with this much greenery, there'll be a lot of leaves on the trees. So we're just hinting that the branch is there for now. The other seasons we might see more, the branches might be more pronounced and there'll be less leaves, depending on the time of year. But we're just, as you can see, as I cover it up, it's leaving certain areas peeking through. And I'm just turning the brush this way and that to get the effect I want. You can do the same, or you can do it all the same direction, however you want. So we're going to get a little more paint. Well, we mix that dark green just about right. And try not to go too much over what you've already done so you don't smooth it out. And as we go, it'll give it more texture. And that's about good for that color. So now we'll mix up a little bit lighter green. So what we'll do is we'll take what we've got, add a little more Prussian blue to it. And we want to make it a little bit lighter green. So we're not going to add the brown this time, because we've already got the dark in it. And we'll just add a little bit of, so that we get a lighter green to the shade we want. And again, like I said, in the future videos, I promise we'll have a palette cam so that you can see what I'm doing here as we do it. We got things planned and ordered coming up over the next few months that'll really improve how well we can help you learn to create. And we've just about got that color to where we want it. Just a little bit more yellow. I'm going to take a little bit of that yellow and put it on the brush at the same time now. I'm going to come in here. I'm just going to add the first layer of some color to those leaves to kind of give them a little bit of sunlight effect. First you get your dark color in, and these colors are going to be kind of subtle and changed to start with, so it's not going to be real noticeable. You may notice it on the camera, but up close on the canvas you're not going to see as much of a difference as soon. Because you can see it's a lighter green. It's not a whole lot lighter. And it's getting time to have to wipe some of the paint off of this brush. You get a certain amount on, it gets too heavy, and then the little ends don't work like you want it to. You just come in, wipe some of it off, no big deal. Get them loosened up again the way you want them. Come back over here and start again. I've got the shade of green I want over here by my yellow now. And we just slowly lighten up the color a little bit as we go along. And now we're going to add where our sun is kind of touching the tips of the leaves a little bit here. So it's going to be a lot brighter right here on these edges where the sun is coming through. And we'll eventually get from a green up to a real, actually a bright yellow. Right in there. But right now, we just want to come on here and just kind of get our leaf edges in where the sun is hitting the edges of our leaves. It might filter through some here, but it's not going to be a lot. So we're going to be kind of sparing in here. Now right in here, where you see it kind of thin between, where you can kind of see the background through your tree, you'll see some sunlight highlights in there, and you can add a little bit in there like that if you want. You don't have to. Again, it's personal taste. But now I'm using primarily yellow with just the green that's on the brush. And it's time to wipe some paint off again. Because with what we're doing, every time we push the brush like this, it pushes the paint up into the bristles, and we have to knock some out every so often. But now you can see what I mean about that branch peeking through and adding an accent to your painting. We'll add a little bit of lighter green in here where you can see around your branch edges. Kind of bring them to life a little bit. See, that way you get a bolder contrast because those bright leaves are now over that bark of that other tree. All I'm doing is just touching the very corner of the paintbrush in the paint. So I'm basically just touching the paint like this. And then I'm doing the same over here over the tree where the bark is showing through. And there you have. And now you'll notice that there's an additional layer here so that it looks like it'll actually give the feeling in the painting that this area here now is pushed back. Hope you enjoyed what you watching today and watching all along the series of these paintings as they came together. If you want to learn more, you'd like to learn how to make beautiful paintings like this, I'm going to be doing step-by-steps as I go along, as well as lives that you can follow along with or just watch and learn from. Be sure and click the subscribe button. Hit the little bell notification so you know that when we go live or we upload another segment of a video teaching you how to oil paint like this and increase your creativity. Most of all, be sure and continue to create for contentment, and you be sure and have fun. Don't